Yo, we need to talk. So guys, as you guys already know, Bleach Rebirth of Souls recently came out. And honestly, I know I kind of hyped it up with that special trailer and then obviously dropping the first part and I was really hyped. But let me just drop some nugget of information on you. That first video was not recorded like after the animation was done. It was recorded way before it was even halfway. It was basically released day one that the game dropped. All right, as soon as the game dropped, that's when I recorded it. As of this video now, it's gonna be a massive time skip, but I've already been in the game. All right, I already recorded the whole series, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna spare you guys the whole series because honestly, as much as I love Bleach, the story was not fun to go through. It was very boring. The cutscenes, they were very actually well animated cutscenes, or at least well animated is really pushing it. At least decent looking cutscenes. Everything was very stiff or maybe motion captured or whatever, but it didn't look interesting at all. It was very boring to look at. Anything that should have had actual animation a lot of the time didn't. So it was very underwhelming, but honestly I think that's just something that we got to get to. So let's just talk about right now my issues with Rebirth of Souls. So my biggest issue is mainly the one thing that I've been working on this whole time is the story. But before we get to the story, let's talk about the most blatant thing that kind of killed the game on launch: poor optimization, as well as all the crashes. I don't think I need to really drive it home any more than it's already been, but the game on launch was pretty much unplayable on PC and had a lot of issues. As if you guys seen the first video, I'm gonna be honest with you, even there, which was the day one launch, there was the crashes. And even now, which I just beat the game, you're gonna be seeing this on Saturday April 19th. I have beaten the game on the 17th. That's when I have beaten the game, and even then I was still experiencing crashes. So that's a very big issue, and I know they've been working on it, but the fact that it's still going on and consistently at that is still an issue. The game should not have been dealing with this many crashes. I understand crashes happen, but for as often as it has, it pretty much killed the game on launch. But let's get back to the story. Other than poor optimization, the story was very bland, at least in terms of actual cinematography. Animations were basically I could animate better. Literally nothing was animated well, to be honest. Everything was very stiff. It felt very lifeless. And there were a few, there were not even a few, there were two cutscenes that I actually did like when they actually animated something, and that being the Ukiyoda passing away scene. I think the way they did the expressions, and the way it looked in general looked really nice. And obviously the final Getsuga Tensho, I loved how it looked as well. The shading on the form looked beautiful, but other than that, the game was very boring to get through. I'm gonna be honest, the story honestly felt like it was dragging on. That first video was the most I got invested. I was very hyped to see Grimmjow versus Ichigo, Ukiyoda versus Ichigo, Shunsui versus Stark, Kenpachi and Byakuya versus Grammy. This is not Thousand Year Blood War. Yami, sorry. There was just a lot of fights. And also the Halibel versus Toshido, all that stuff. I was hyped to see that. And when it came by, it really wasn't fun at all to go through. It felt more of a drag, and then on top of it, it's very lengthy, which kind of made it more unfun at that. But I know Bleach in of itself, at least where this game is covering, is a lot, and I'm not expecting all of the game to look beautiful in terms of cutscenes, but certain moments they could have done more, and not even in a lot of moments. Certain moments that should look crazy and beautiful and have a lot going on don't have anything happening. It's very underwhelming. They use those special animations or special cutscenes for like the most weirdest moments. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the Ukiyoda passing away scene, but you telling me you can't have a cutscene like that when Ichigo fully goes Vasalorde, or even when he goes Bankai? Like, they honestly, like, they took the extremely lazy route by just using the Bankai and like the actual animations and characters, which I'm not saying is a complete bad thing. Like, they do look beautiful, I will say that, but at the same time, they use it way too often. Like, they use it for anything. Like, it just feels so lazy. Like, you can't just at least be extra about it, like do some extra like cutscenes, or expand it to a point where, like, if you do like the Bankai and you cut it and then you do different animation, and then you cut back to it to the end where he does the, you know, there's a song, you know what I'm saying? Shit like that would give it more flavor. It's very bland as it is now, and it's very disappointing, honestly. It was honestly more unfun to play through everything. Like, don't get me wrong, there are points where I still enjoyed playing the game. I think, before I get into the positives, because there are like one or two that I would say I do like about it. The whole story of it in itself was very boring, very bland. Cutscenes were extremely ass. It felt like it dragged on way too long, and that wouldn't be an issue if they just did cutscenes justice. If you could make it visually interesting to an extent, it just looked very boring. But that's the story. PvP has had a lot of issues in the beginning. I know they're fixing it now, which I'm not crazy about the PvP. I wasn't really gonna get into it like that. I was more excited for the actual story, because that was like, this is like the first time where they actually have like the story in one game and in one mainline game, you know what I'm saying? Like, usually they would have like it for like the PSP or Bleach Brave Souls, which I actually played Brave Souls, but I don't know, it's just very lackluster. From what I've seen from PvP in the beginning, not only was the crashing still a big issue, which it still is at this point, but the connections were really bad. I actually did play a little bit of PvP. I wasn't gonna get into it, but I did play a little bit. Connections were pretty bad. And I heard a lot of times that because of the connections and the crashing, that people used to get disconnected because of the game, and then they would get banned for it, which is crazy. Another thing is that which I'm kind of glad for, but at the same time, for the whole purpose of the game, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. There not being a ranked mode. For a game like this, there should be a ranked mode on launch. I know the game is not stable, but if the game was stable and worked fine, why isn't there a ranked mode? Sparking Zero, a game that is built to be unbalanced, has a ranked mode. This game isn't the most balanced game in the world, but it's made to be a fighting game that has at least a way higher skill ceiling than fucking Sparking Zero. Where is ranked? But there's certain features that should be day one shit that's just not here. Like, it's very disappointing. Bandai really like fucked us Bleach fans over, like, to be honest with you, and it's really disappointing. And like, if you guys watched the first video, I will have said that I would probably replay, you know, the story back. Probably not, to be honest. Probably not. Maybe not for a while, at least, because the game story is such a drag to get through. It just feels like one of those games that if I had nothing else to play, I would play it. Like, I'm probably still gonna trophy grind it, I'm not gonna lie, but other than that, once I do that, I'm probably never gonna touch the game again. It might be another Sparking Zero incident. I fucking played that game, Sparking Zero, like a motherfucker. I trophy hunted it, I got the platinum, and I still haven't touched it to this day. That's actually not true. I did play it for an hour when the superhero DLC came out, but other than that, I have not touched the game. I have no reason to. Online is unfun, and story isn't exactly the craziest thing, and there's just not a lot of like offline shit to do, you know. So it's just, you know, it's not interesting. All right, now that that's the bad stuff out of the way, let's talk about at least some of the positives. some of the positives is, for me, I know I've seen a lot of people shit on the game's graphics, but I do not think the graphics is bad at all. My computer cannot run, which a lot like it on high graphics or even medium graphics, because it's just my PC's not that the best PC ever. But even then, I would still argue that the game looks still really good. Like, what am I mixing? Honestly, I don't feel like I'm missing out on a lot, to be honest. Like, I just feel like I'm missing out maybe on some anti-aliasing, but that's really about it. I think the game looks perfectly fine in terms of pure visuals. Too bad they didn't take advantage of that in the story, but you know, that's that. I'm just saying. But I think overall, if we're just talking about visuals, the game looks beautiful. I love it, so I'm not gonna complain in that department. Gameplay, I do find the gameplay still really fun. I know it can get stale after a little bit, and it does to an extent, but not to the people that people are dragging it to. I still think the gameplay is still very fun. A lot of characters are very unique. You know, obviously there's the broken characters, but every character is broken in their own sort of way. Similar to Marvel Rivals. The only one that kind of sucks is Rukia. I despise hating playing as her in the story. I'm sorry for the Rukia fans, but she absolutely sucked dick in this game. I'm sorry. Hopefully when the 1,000-Year Blood War DLC comes out, you know, there's potential that she'll actually get an upgrade that she needs. But yeah, the characters are still unique. They're very fun to play, I'm not gonna lie, and the gimmicks as well I think are still very interesting. But honestly, gameplay is pretty solid in my opinion. I don't really have a complaint. I'll give visuals, in my opinion, when I see it like maxed out, I think it's perfectly fine. I don't really have complaints. So honestly, I would probably say it's a 10 out of 10 in terms of visuals. But in terms of gameplay, I'll probably say maybe it could use a little bit of work. Maybe it could speed up the gameplay a little bit more, maybe, or make the combos more unique. So I'd give it a solid 7.5, maybe an 8, because the gameplay is still fun. But I feel like in terms of a fighting game, you should have more freedom in terms of combos, like a Fighter Z, even though Fighter Z is way different. I think that game is fucking the perfect fighting game. Call that a hot take, but I think that's literally the best fighting game in the market. But honestly, I think it's fine. I have no complaints on gameplay that much. I just think they maybe should put more effort in combos, maybe have more freedom to make your own combos, or you know, something along the lines of maybe juggles. All I'm saying. But I don't think the gameplay is kind of built for that. Because again, it's not like 2D, but I don't know. Maybe there's some working around, but who knows? I feel like it could be expanded a little bit. Obviously, I'm just throwing shit out. Juggling doesn't really make a lot of sense, but I'm just saying that who knows? You know, they might somehow allow something along the lines of that. You know what I'm saying? So visuals and gameplay are solid, but everything else kind of sucks, to be honest. I do like the music. The music I think is really good. I have no complaints on the music. It's just the story is really disappointing. The optimization is really bad, and online is pretty much unplayable because of the optimization, and there's no rank. So there's not much to really say at that point. You know, this game had a lot of potential. So does Sparking Zero. I think both of these games are like, you know, kind of opposites for each other, which is, well, they have a lot of similarities as well. They both had a lot of potential, and I think they failed miserably. This game had a great potential for, you know, having, you know, the story looking pretty good, you know, and then having a really great, you know, online, but they failed in that. Sparking Zero has arguably a better story, because, you know, they actually take liberties in certain cutscenes to make them, and they're more often where there's a lot more shit going on. But online is unplayable because it's just the gameplay just kind of is whack, and also everyone plays the same goddamn characters. Like, I'm not gonna say everyone's not gonna run fucking Ichigo, but at least there's way more diversity in this game. But I don't know, they both had a lot of potential, and do I really see myself coming back to this game? Maybe for the DLC. I feel like by the time they have the DLC out, I would believe and hope that they fix a lot of the core issues of this game, because it looks like they are going and putting in that work. But honestly, this game is kind of dead already, which is kind of sad, because they really fucked us over. Like, honestly, this was the first game in years, and the launch was horrific. It was one of the worst launches for a game I've ever seen. It was quite literally dead on arrival, unfortunately. like Concord lasted longer. I don't think this game's gonna shut down, but in terms of like, I don't even know. People, like the amount of people who just refunded this game off rip because it was unplayable is insane. But I mean, Concord wasn't bad. I think that's a hot take, but the game is dead. I'm gonna be honest with you. I love Bleach, but this game is dead. I can admit that. I still think there's potential for a revival, unlike Sparking Zero. But other than that, I don't know. I just really hope that, you know, they do fix a lot of things and they step it up heavily for the DLC. Like I hope when they drop the DLC, not only I think for in terms of character animations, like actual playable, I think they're gonna look beautiful still. But I hope that if I'm saying if, because Sparking Zero did not add any story for superhero DLC, which is diabolical. But if, and I think they should add story DLC, I hope that they step it up heavy for that. I hope they really step up the cutscenes and make them look how they should have been day one. That is a very big if. That is a lot of copium. I could hope only so much, but that's all I really gotta say. Now let's really talk about what I hope to see in the future. I already said what I think about this game, but again, I hope they fix all the issues and I hope they really step it up with the DLC, because this game has potential for a revival, but they really gotta really step it up on some real shit. They got a lot of work on their hands. They gotta first make the game playable, because even offline, my game's fucking crashing. Okay, that's ridiculous. What do I hope for the future of Bleach games? For the future, I don't think they're gonna, I doubt they're gonna make a Rebirth of Souls 2. I would hope that the next Bleach game takes a different direction. What I said this in my video, obviously you're not gonna see it because I'm not gonna post it. What I'm hoping for the next Bleach game is a Dragon Ball Kakarot Bleach game, a solo story mode game, open world, like have similar gameplay, because honestly I think the gameplay would also work for a Bleach game as well. I think it'll work perfectly fine in my opinion. And then make love to the story, like give it the love that it deserves. I think the Dragon Ball Kakarot cutscenes are fantastic. They are beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful looking like story, like, you know, anime games, like honestly ever, to be honest. I'm yet to see like one that doesn't look as good as it does. That game looks beautiful and it runs beautiful as well. I know it was on the PS4, but still, it's like as games, you know, continue on and new games come out, they become less and less optimized, which I think is insane. You would expect them to get better, but they're going in the fucking opposite direction. That's why you're seeing like a lot of ports, and even they end up being bad. Like you have all these years to make a port for like PC, like the fucking Last of Us 1, when it dropped on PC, it was unplayable. It was ridiculous. So honestly, for next Bleach game, I hope they drop a game like that, an open world Bleach game, similar action as Dragon Ball Kakarot. Maybe take some liberties to make it more unique in terms of fighting, but I'm honestly would be perfectly fine with the gameplay loop, and make the story look visually interesting, make them look good. I know it's possible. Bleach in of itself can make and has made visually looking, you know, scenes before. Like there's so much to take from the anime and or manga and make them look crazy. I know it's possible. If I could do it, I would. Trust me. I would. If you gave me that power and that money and that budget, I would lead that development to be fire. Okay, I would cook. But honestly, again, that's just my thoughts. I hope that they do fix the game, and I can only hope. It's looking very unlikely that, to be honest, there's gonna be another Bleach game coming out anytime soon, because of how bad this game has, you know, been delivered. But I hope that if they do release a new Bleach game, it is like what I just said, a Dragon Ball Kakarot Bleach game. That shit will look fuego. Okay, it'll look fuego. All right. But honestly, that's really it. That's my thoughts. I kind of did hype this up, and I did have a lot of like ideas for projects. I'm still gonna make another one. It's already in the works. I already bought all the stuff. I'm gonna be making another project video similar to like how it was the special trailer, but I might change it up because it's not really gonna be a trailer. But yeah, honestly, I had a lot of hope for this game, and I'm really disappointed how it came out. Let's hope for a brighter future. Anyway, I'll be going back to my usual schedule, horror game programming, and I hope you guys will meet me there. Anyway, enjoy the video, like, subscribe, comment. Anything helps, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.